Ms. Thomas, good afternoon. How are you? So on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you again for expressing interest to serve on the Board of Education. Today's interviews are being recorded and they will be posted after all the candidates have completed their interviews. All candidates were emailed the questions yesterday at 5 p.m. and each candidate confirmed receipt. Each board member will ask a question and you'll have 40 minutes to answer all 7 questions and provide a closing statement. Questions will begin with Ms. Thomas on the end and we'll work our way across the dais, concluding with Ms. Butler-Washington. Please let us know when you're done answering a question and we will move to the next question. You may return to a question at the end if there's time remaining. So the board will take notes and remain silent during the interview, so don't take it personally. We're just trying to keep the entire process as fair and equitable as possible. And I'll give you a 5-minute warning on your time.
Thank you.
So after the interviews today, the board will confer, and when the board reaches a decision, all the candidates will be notified. So for the record, can you please state your name and address?
I am Samichie Thomas. I live at 1514 Robertson School. And it says Waldorf. So stay
Yep.
Waldorf.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, your time will begin after Ms. Thomas reads the first question.
Good morning. What is your understanding of the time commitment required for this position?
Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
Ms. Thomas?
So my understanding of time commitment, I know a lot of people have focused on just the meetings that they see. And I think that is probably a misnomer, if you will, because I do understand that, you know, there are the public forums, but there's also lots of work that has to be done in the background, whether it be research and preparation in order to make decisions, being out in the community, focusing on supporting the constituents, being in schools. I think it was the biggest brouhaha when everybody saw you guys show up at the graduation and everybody's in their cap and gowns. And so it's being in the community. It's making sure that you have a level of review. It's also being out of the community. It's being at Annapolis if necessary, going to conferences, doing professional development. I think, you know, staying in the county and understanding what the needs are, but then going back and bringing some more global knowledge, some more global awareness of what is happening in the curriculum, other places benchmarking and best practices, bringing that back to the community. And if I put my former HR director hat on, and we looked at what a full-time equivalent position would be, if you look at 40 hours a week for a position, looking at all the work that has to be done, whether it be something that you're doing on your own, researching and evaluating and analyzing, I would say this is really a part-time job. So if a regular job is 40 hours a week, this probably is 20 hours a week that you would have to provide of your time to get some things done. And if there's special things like the redistricting or having hearings in town halls, that's going to even incur more time. So I think, you know, understanding that it is a part-time job that may even occur more time, and I understand that commitment from those on board, because you have a full-time job plus you'll do this.
Good afternoon. Why are you running for a seat on the Charles County Board of Education? Is there a particular issue or issues that has motivated you to serve in this capacity?
Well, as many of you know, I ran in the actual election when we had an election. At that time, you know, I had a platform. It was very important to me. And that platform was innovation and education. And I was very clear to help people understand. Because I'm a mother. And as a mother, I think it's very important that being a parent in the community, I've raised 4 children in the community, and raising those 4 children in the community. I started in Charles County 2005. I've watched the community change. I've watched the developments, I've watched it grow, and of that time, student success, parent engagement, educational support, and resource optimization is critical. That's very important because the blueprint has given us a tremendous boost of funding. And being a responsible steward of that using that to pivot what we need in education for our students is really important. And I was that parent. I pivoted the school board once. I, was angry about a redistricting. During COVID, I complained about student view. And I could not simply continue to have issues and go individually and have challenges and not be part of the solution. I think it's very important to be part of the solution. I think it was very important in order for me to make sure that if I could stand in the gap for my community, help make sure that our future is something that will be bright, then that was what I wanted to do. In addition to that, I'm particularly excited about the community partnerships. I think it's an awesome opportunities for us to go look at federal agencies, find funding, whether it be sponsoring, donations, whether it be grants. I think those things are really important and critical to what we can bring to our community. We will need that. Our community is growing. It's very robust. The funding will be necessary. While the blueprint gives us funding, we're going to need something as we sustain these great programs that have happened. And so that's really important. And then the other thing for me is that education, pre-K education is blooming in this county. I think we have like 847, I think I looked at numbers, 847 pre-K. Like that is awesome. That really gives us the opportunity to find early interventions when necessary, get kids all on the level playing field for education. And it gives the teachers an opportunity to not have so many varying levels when they have to do education in the beginning in the classrooms.
Hello again. What are your top 3 priorities for the school system, and how do you plan to advocate for those priorities if selected?
My top 3 priorities are really aligned to kind of the platform that I ran on. One, resource optimization. This board has done a good job. I mean, you guys really have done a good job there. I mean, I campaigned with many of you, but I also, while I was not put on the board, I watched the hearings. I still sat and watched the AIB. I watched the development of the blueprint and what was going on. And that resource optimization has been utilized in this county. I mean, we are now the county that has, with so much hoopla about, we don't pay teachers enough. We are the first to have the highest salary. That speaks volumes to making sure that what was going on in the blueprint has really come to fruition for our county, that we can get those quality teachers, and that is what, at the crux of resource optimization. I think the other thing is, with that resource optimization, sustainability throughout the years, which requires, getting the budget and funding from the commissioners, having that conversation, making sure that people understand the needs of the community, because it will continue, the community will continue to grow, the budget and that alignment will continue to be necessary, and that will sustain the programs. We don't want that, thrust and robustness, and then it has the law because you have to start cutting things back. The students and the parents will want continuity, and that's what we want. In order to do that, ensuring that I'm collaborating with the commissioners, understanding what the community needs, looking for ways to get unique funding that may not just be straightforward. The other thing is supporting equity inclusion. I saw the diversity and inclusion survey that went out. I looked at the results, and we still do have some populations that are diverse with ability, ethnic groups, religious, family groups, languages. Some of those people may feel left out. I think it's really important for us to make sure that if you are in the community, you find that you're recognized, that you're valued, and that the needs that you have will be supported in the school system. And so, while all those folks have varying needs, I really believe that while they're different needs, the line and the standard is important. And I think to get to that line and that standard means that we're going to have a line and then meet students where they are and then get everybody to that line. And so supporting that diversity and inclusion for those students that may have needs in a variety of ways is really important. Even socioeconomic, racial, just even location. That's a diverse area. Location in the county really does matter. And so no matter where you are, your experiences should be as the same as possible, where you can make those things consistent. So soliciting feedback from the community is a way that I can do that. Looking at the data and the trends to make sure those impacted groups, are they aligning up with everybody else? Are there outliers? What can we do to bring those groups to the middle? so that everybody has the same standard and level of education. And then lastly, the third one is, looking at one of the pillars, the career readiness, college readiness, innovation in education for students. We can find different ways to educate, different ways to do things, different ways to engage. I think that's really, really important. This community has a posture that with this new board is, you all have understood the clamoring by the community, be transparent, give us information, and you're doing that. And the way that you're doing that really has invigorated the community to engage back. It may not always be great, but you know what they're asking for, you can pivot in that way. And that's, innovation. So it's not just technology, it's innovative thinking, it's diverse thinking, it's finding things, the MOU that was signed, I saw with the College of Southern Maryland and agricultural development and the Tri-County Council. I think those things are important, right? That is innovative thinking. Go out to look to corporate, other people, bring them in and see how we can partner together. So that's the third thing. To support that pillar of college readiness, I think innovation in education and the way we think about what we do will be needed.
Good afternoon. Do you feel your views on public education align with members of District 1?
I do. I really believe that when I decided to run, that was just when they were redistricting the county, the voting lines. And I thought, oh, I ended up in District 1. Okay. And I didn't necessarily know as much as I thought I knew about that end of the county. I had I had an immersion, if you will, of learning experiences in the county. Going out to look at the rich and robust farming and agricultural community, understanding that there is some technology divide out there. And so, I campaigned, I knocked on doors, I talked to people in District 1. And as I did that, I learned some very interesting things. Little known fact, in District 1, have you seen those little red barn houses that you can put books in? You can add a book and take a book. Well, District 1 has the most barn houses. And I didn't know that barn house was a collaboration with the livestock. I think it's the Community for Livestock. So they have a little sticker on it about livestock, and it's to educate and inform all about livestock, the agriculture in the community, but then also give some books out to kids. I found that out when I was campaigning, thought it was cool, started taking books from my kids when they were younger and putting them in the boxes as I was campaigning. So if you think through, that community, I think District 1, they want what every parent wants. High quality education for their students. They want safety and security. I think they appreciate the innovative things that can be provided from education, but I also believe they really want to make sure that they're not left behind with a divide, because they do have some outreaching places that they may not have as much technology as necessary. And I understand the pain points. I know TC Martin is waiting to get back in their school. A lot of those parents over there are like, wow, they have little kids and it's so far, that bus trip, going back and forth. They're anxiously waiting to get back into. I know this board did a wonderful job. I was pleased to see the activity buses come back. That's the strain for some of the parents that live further out for some of those activities. I know when my oldest son was here, I loved the activity bus because I had multiple children in different directions. You get on that activity bus and still get home. And that wasn't an easy feat. That required budget, coordination, and planning, which I think was also important. And I think at the end of the day, as a community, District 1 is, there's a rich history there with the agricultural pieces. That district is, believes in tradition and values. I believe the same for education. I believe there's ways to do things in a new way, but I believe that tradition and values, respect for the historic parts of the county are valued there. And also I believe those in education, those tenements can pull through for how we teach our children, how we show them to respect, local farming, farm to table. I mean, just imagine if you could take some of those things and infuse them in education for the county. How many kids who, live in different districts don't know that there's cows and farms and things out there, or maybe local farmers table could be a menu option in the county public schools one day, and kids could be eating what's grown in the county. So I think all of those are things that the District 1 would like to see, would like to be a part of, but also think every child would value and benefit from that in the county.
Good afternoon. What is your understanding of the blueprint for Maryland? Do you support its implementation? Which pillar do you believe is the most important and why?
Oh, this is the hardest question of all the questions. Because I absolutely support the blueprint. It's hard to pick a pillar. I mean, I can find so much value in every one of the pillars, which is so important. The early education pillar is so paramount to the success of students. Every child comes from a different vantage point, different parents. And, depending upon where they come from, they may come with, different levels when they get to kindergarten. So being able to push that back and being able to allow kids to have pre-K, to have, the youngest of our students, and to be able to then augment that by other early childhood programs in the community. The state said, we know we can't just infuse this into the school really quickly, so they have been, putting investments in their early childhood education within the community to augment that until, it gets stood up. So the early education, high quality diverse teaching. The diverse teaching part, I've been watching the board and watching the work, and I know Ms. Majors in the HR, she has really, stepped up. Like she 20% more male teachers, like that's a big deal. Making sure that they're out there recruiting. I mean, they've really attacked aggressively the high school vacancies and were able to get that done. So looking at all of those aspects, that diversity and high quality teaching and leadership, I think is really important. Adding the additional resources, the language resources that are needed, helping students that need support, wraparound services, behavioral health, I think is important. Probably not popular, but I like the AIB idea. I mean, it really shows a commitment by the state that they've said that we're going to have an independent person evaluate this. So everybody has skin in the game, and there's evaluation across the board. That top-down and bottom-up approach, I think, is important for commitment, but it also means that everybody is being kept accountable, which I think is great. And then, I guess if I had to, if I'm forced, my arm is twisted to pick a favorite, it would be college readiness and career readiness. It's so critically important that college and career readiness for students, it is a forward-leaning view of where a student needs to go, but we can start so early. We can add so many things, innovation and learning, and why can't we have more arts? I see one of the schools is beefing up their art department. Why? Because there's STEAM. There's science and education, but this is also art. I think that's really, critically important. And it would be my most favorite because it involves so many components. It's the education, it's the other activities that kids can be involved and engaged in, and bringing that well-rounded education of the whole child gets them to that college or career readiness. And it's not just going to college. Maybe somebody is, I have a son graduated, he's a certified welder, came from North Point. He loves it. He's doing well. I've utilized these programs in the county. I had students in athletics, and I had students in the CTE programs. I had an IEP student. I had, you name it, I probably had it. And so having utilized those programs, I think everything kind of, that trajectory of career readiness is the goal for all the students when they leave Charles County Public Schools.
Thank you. Next question, what are the roles of the elected board and the roles of the superintendent?
This is probably need a chart for this, for everybody that comes in the room when they listen to board meetings. Because I too thought, before I ran, I was like, wow, I'm going to change the world. Not so much, not so much. You can change it one decision at a time in collaboration with others, right? The board is not, a place where you come and change everything on the fly, but there's a process, right? This is why we have, rules of government, but also understanding that, the board represents and is a liaison of the community. You're representing your district, you're representing the community, as a liaison. the superintendent is doing community relations, public relations. Like, she's making sure that everybody knows, what the schools are doing, engaging with the schools. But there's the specificity of what a district needs. That's something that, each district can bring to the board and make sure that, no one is left behind, even if there's diverse areas. Finances and funding, what a fun topic, right? Finances and funding, while the schools have to prepare what's for the budget and present, the board is the one that makes sure that that happens. But also then has to go out and garner funds, to collaborate with the commissioners and make sure that what's coming in from the funding, is there. I think that funding piece is really critical. And then policy. The board is developing policy. The board is making sure they're setting standards, making sure the practices, but the implementation is the superintendent. She has to make sure it gets done. She has at the helm of, leading that group, which is really, critical. Her group of professionals and educators have to make sure that they're implementing, but the board is setting and making sure that they're aligned with what's happening at the state level to make sure there's consistency across the board. So I definitely understand, instructional programs, and those kind of things fall under the superintendent. And so this big topic is going to come up. It's going to be hot. The redistricting. Who's that label, right? That's the board. So redistricting and those kind of things. But as those redistricting needs, it's the superintendent's responsibility to make sure that the schools are getting what they need. The schools are preparing for the students. So I definitely understand and I see, the differences between what the board is supposed to do and what the superintendent is supposed to do. That doesn't mean that there isn't collaboration. That doesn't mean that, at the superintendent level, she doesn't gather things, come and make recommendations, and you guys are working, collaboratively and aligning. But there are definitely, clear lines of who's doing what. And I've listened to every single board meeting since you guys have been sitting, and I know that you're working on a handbook. I think that goes a long way for transparency, for the community, making sure that people understand what the lanes in the road are, and then also making sure that if there needs to be some changes to that, as a group, you work together through it. And that's the beauty of collaboration.
Hello. How have your unique strength, professional, and volunteering experience prepared you to serve on the CCPS board?
Thanks for that question. I'm a parent first. And that's just, I found a lot of identity about being a parent because I have 4 children and their success is important to me. And I thought to myself, if my children's success and growth in life is as important as I think every other parent and just people in the community in general. I mean, if we invest in our children, in our education, our academics, whether you have a child or not, it invests back in your community. And that's critically important to understand. If kids don't have things to do, if they aren't educated, then they're also the ones that are not going to support the community in the best way possible and be positive. So you want kids to be engaged and have things to do, whether you have a child or not. And you pay taxes, you want someone to be a good steward of your tax dollars. So because I have supported this county, I have done senior interviews, I have fundraised, I've been a volleyball coach, I've been a basketball coach. I've also then, participated in the early child education program for my own children, the CTE programs. I think that part of the community engagement and volunteer experience in the county really give me unique perspective of what's happening in the schools. From a knowledge-based perspective, I've been a social worker, I have been a teacher, I've worked at the graduate level and taught graduate level courses, and having those experiences working with children and guidance counseling. I have a master's degree in adult education, so I understand instructional systems design and curriculums, test and measurements. So I have a knowledge base of the components of education and academics, the content, and so I think it'll be easy for me to understand that content and collaborate with others on the board for analysis, for good decision making, understanding what's needed, what's happening, be able to to be able to take that and see the wide perspective from a very narrow perspective and wide perspective. And then from a business perspective, I've served as an HR director in several agencies. I have, experience working with labor relations and employee relations, negotiating union contracts. writing policy at the federal government level. I've spent, years doing that. I've done major IT programs. Like I know, currently there's an ERP program going on here, and it was a little mismanaged because of COVID and some things that happened. And so trying to get, right size, I've done business process reengineering for efficiency and effectiveness. So I've had a very wide career of things that this board has to look at, evaluate, and make decisions on. And I think that allows me to come to the board and bring knowledge and expertise, but also listen and value others' knowledge and expertise and collaborate in order to be able to make the best decisions for the board. Looking at data and trend analysis to say, where are we going as a board? The policies that we set, are those policies helping support the mission of Charles County Public Schools, what the blueprint has asked for as, kind of a promise to the future of Maryland.
All right, thank you very much. You have a little time left, so if there's anything that you'd like to say, now would be the time to do that.
How much time do I have left, if you don't mind?
You have 14 and a little bit left.
Thank you. As you guys know, I was excited to run. I'm still excited about Charles County Public Schools and the opportunities and the possibilities for students. We're at a high right now in our county. Good, bad, or indifferent. Probably many of you are engaged in the social interactions in the community. You have parents that are like, the buses are late, all of that. And while that may be daunting to some, it's really not daunting to me, because I understand that the crux of any issue for a parent is what's happening to my kid? What's happening to my child? Are they going to be safe? Are they going to be secure? What's happening with bullying? And is the school doing enough? Could they be doing more? And I think jumping in, rolling your sleeves up, and being a part of that allows you to really change education in the county and improve it for the better. It also allows you to have pride in your community, and I think that is critically important. Watching the students graduate, watching those that are getting academic scholarships to college, those that are doing other things, whether it's singing. We have some kids that are on the trajectory to be, in the Olympics maybe. As you watch this community transform and change, as you see that is now garnering more people, the population explosion, this time that parents are engaged, I think is a great time to leverage that with town halls, with getting out in the community, with transparency and engagement. And I really think that I have that community awareness to support bringing that to the board, and then helping us further where this community can go, where the trajectory of education in the county, and also making sure that the blueprint isn't just something that is never really brought to fruition for the students in the county. And so I'm excited for the opportunity again to be on the board, and I hope that you guys see where I can collaborate, where I can support the community, because I'm excited about education in Charles County in the future. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much for coming. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you.